Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher for this week is Debbie Ford. She's at least partly known for some of her work on shadow work, working with our own shadow. And you'd definitely pick up a little bit of that in the quotes that I share with you from her today. Somebody, a very good morning. Anne-Marie, good morning. Lee-Ann, good morning. It is so good to see you. Hello, Linda, good morning. Let's get into today's message. Our greatest sense of dis-ease often comes from expecting ourselves to be in only one way. Like always being happy or always being positive. And then being very disappointed with ourselves when we find ourselves being in ways that we don't want to be. Grain, a very good morning. Danae, good morning. Stefan, good morning. Joanne, good morning. It's lovely seeing you all here. The thing is that being human means that we do experience ourselves in a multitude of different ways. The survival part of our human psyche is tasked with keeping us alive, steering us away from what it perceives as danger and towards safety. And the harder we resist and fight the fear in this small self, the more it becomes scared. The more scared means that he or she has to fight even harder for survival. When we resist or deny the scared part of us, we're only creating an inner war within ourselves. Sarah, a very good morning. It is so good to see you live. And Anthony, good evening to you. Awesome having you here. So some thoughts from Debbie Ford that leads us into meditation today. Debbie says, embracing our dark side gives us a newfound freedom to be with the darkness in others. For when I can love all of me, I will love all of you. She says, your life will be transformed when you make peace with your shadow. The caterpillar will become a breathtakingly beautiful butterfly. You will no longer have to pretend to be someone you're not. You will no longer have to prove you're good enough. When you embrace your shadow, you will no longer have to live in fear. Find the gifts of your shadow and you will finally revel in all the glory of your true self. Then you'll have the freedom to create the life that you've always desired. Maggie, good morning. Good to see you. Last thought from Debbie Ford says, the greatest act of courage is to be and to own all of who you are, without apology, without excuses, without masks to cover the truth of who you are. Colette, good morning. Awesome seeing you. Turning away from big emotions that we don't know how to deal with feels like it's helpful. But because we never deal with the fear that is at the root cause of our triggers, this never gets better. This only gets worse. However, when we learn to listen to what our anger, our sadness, our fear is trying to say, then there's an embrace of our darker side and making peace with our shadow. Having acceptance for our worst parts and allowing them to speak doesn't mean that we are putting our shadow in the driver's seat, but it does mean that we accept that our small self is scared. Our own empowerment comes from surrendering to our higher self, who has arms big enough to hold our scared parts until the fear has passed. Our meditation today is called a sense of self, and it is an opportunity to have the different parts of us that might be those emotions, might experience those emotions that we don't always want to deal with, allowing the parts of ourselves to be seen and to be heard. If you're ready, you can close your eyes and let's float away together, starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale. And let it go. Deep breath in. And out. One more big breath in. And let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. Every time you breathe out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and drop your head. Dealing with big emotions is often, mostly, almost always something we really don't want to do. Because it feels like when we have these big emotions, we're not being successful humans, because successful humans have easy emotions, not big emotions that are hard to deal with. Do you sometimes feel that way? Or have you in the past felt that way? Being a human means we are guaranteed to experience a spectrum of emotions. Experience ourself in a multitude of different ways. And if there are any parts of this, Carl Jung came up with the term shadow. His work started off the idea of working with our shadow. If there are any parts of our experience that we resist experiencing, those emotions don't go away. Those inner narratives don't disappear. They linger, they fester, they only become stronger. And the truth is, while I am trying to reject or abandon any part of myself, even though I think I would be better off not having this part, truth is, if I do try and reject and abandon this part of me, I cannot possibly be whole. I am only whole if I can hold all of me. And become more healthy in the process. In our journey today, we are inviting our inner children to come and sit with us. I will use really simple examples, but you can use whichever examples feel right to you. These inner children that we are inviting today are called sadness and anger and fear. We all have experienced those. We all do know what they feel like. Take a moment to invite these inner children to come and sit with you. The image in my mind always looks like a grade 1 teacher inviting the children to come and sit on the carpet with her. In this example, these inner children are sadness and anger and fear. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, and we're asking these 3 inner children to take these breaths along with us. We're going to stretch out our bodies, and you might get into the analogy and imagine you could see these inner children stretch out along with you, or not. Do however it feels good to you. Let's take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward and roll out your neck muscles, going forward and to the left and forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As we release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. See if you can tilt your head towards the left and tilt your hips towards the right, curving your spine into an S from your head down to your tailbone. And then change sides, curve the S the other way. It might take a moment of coordination. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least as much as we are able to do, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. If you don't have the time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole journey, then with every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body and feel how softness settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath, but hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, I remind you of the inner children we invited, sitting here with you. The simple example is sadness and anger and fear, or if there are any other parts of you you want to add into your example, you are welcome to. As you take your next big breath and as you dive deep into you, ask yourself, what would these three inner children, these parts of you, look like if you could see them? What would sadness look like? What would anger look like? And what would fear look like? Take your next big breath. Returning our attention first towards sadness. And as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, what we're doing is we're asking sadness to speak. I want you to remind yourself of what it feels like when you are sad. How does sadness speak within you? What are the words that you use when you feel sad? What are the phrases, the sentences? And when we look at this and we look back, we often find that it's the same phrases on repeat. It's like a recording playing, that every time I feel this emotion of sadness, it's the same recording playing again. This is not to judge or criticize it, but to really listen and not ignore it. So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask sadness to speak and remind you of what it says when you feel sad. Take your next big breath. Then I want you to turn towards sadness again and ask sadness a question. While you do that, see if you're able to get a good look at sadness. What does this part of you look like? And it's not important that you find an image. It's only helpful to be open to it. And try not think of an answer. When you ask sadness a question, try not use your brain to think of an answer, but ask the question and also just completely let it go. Can you just be curious? Curious towards whether there would be an answer at all. And sometimes there's an instant answer, not from our head thinking the thought, but perhaps from deeper in our body. And sometimes not an instant answer. Either way, could you just hold the space for sadness to be heard? As you take your next big breath and as you dive deep into you, turn towards sadness and even say, sadness, when you feel so sad, what is it that you are afraid will happen? What is it that you are afraid will happen? And just listen for an answer. Take your next big breath. Take a moment to thank sadness for being seen and being heard. It is a brave thing to do. We'll turn our attention now to anger. And as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask anger to remind you of how it feels when you're angry? What are the thoughts that come up in your mind when you feel so angry? Do you have a recent example of being so angry? And again, very often when we feel that angry, the thoughts are on repeat. It's like a recording that every time every time we experience anger, the same recording plays again. So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask anger to speak and remind yourself of how you think, how you feel, how you speak when you're angry. Take your next big breath. And then we're turning towards anger to ask a very specific question. And again, when you ask anger this question, try not to think of an answer with your mind, but trust that your body can answer this question. And as you lean forward and look at anger, try and be open towards seeing what this part of you might look like. And again, it's not important you find an image, it's just very helpful to be open to it. As you take a deep breath and dive deep into you, speak to anger. Say, anger, when you feel so angry, what is it that you really want for me? What is it that you really want for us? Take your next big breath. Take a moment to thank anger for being seen and being heard. It takes courage to be seen and be heard. And then lastly, we'll turn our attention towards fear. Remind yourself of moments of feeling scared. As you take a next big breath and dive deep into you, we are asking fear to speak. What are the thoughts that come up into your mind when you feel scared? Do you have a recent example? And can you recognize how these thoughts are on repeat, that every time you feel scared, they're a variation of the same theme? Like a recording playing again. Take your next big breath and ask fear to speak. Again, turn towards fear and see if you can get an image of what this part of you might look like. And once again, it's not important that you get the image. It's simply helpful to be open to it. And as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask fear this question. Speak to fear when you say, fear, in those moments that you feel so scared, what is your deep desire for me? When you feel so scared, what is your deep desire for us? Ask fear that question. Take your next big breath. Take a moment to thank fear for being seen, for being heard. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, slipping out of the breath-holding space and into the next. And these inner children, they can be wherever they want to be or you want them to be while we take these few big breaths. Huddle them up close to you, or have them sit on your lap, or whatever comes naturally. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel softness slip in and settle in every cell of your body. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back or even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. You'll notice that we haven't been trying to fix sadness and fix anger and fix fear. All we've done is listen and understand, what is it that sadness wants? What is it that anger wants? And what is it that fear wants? When we do this exercise often enough, we get to really learn that every part of me is trying desperately to prevent something bad from happening, or just wishing for things to be different. And in this way, every part of me is trying to be helpful, warning me against some kind of a danger, or trying to move me into making things different. So no, we're not trying to fix sadness or fix anger or fix fear, because what we're doing is something that is more powerful. The question is, who am I being if I can listen to sadness? Who am I being if I can listen to and understand my anger? Who am I being when I can listen to and hold my fear? I'm clearly not being those emotions, but I'm being the stronger part of me. I'm being the best part of me. And if I have more practice in being my, what would we call it? My higher self, my soul, my wisdom. If I spend more time being this, then there's nothing to fix. I'll read to you again from Debbie Ford's words this morning. She says, "Your life will be transformed when you make peace with your shadow. The caterpillar will become a breathtakingly beautiful butterfly. You will no longer have to pretend to be someone you're not. You will no longer have to prove you're good enough. When you embrace your shadow, you will no longer have to live in fear. Find the gifts of your shadow and you will finally revel in all the glory of your true self. Then you'll have the freedom to create the life you've always desired." We do this exercise, this meditation often, where we are practicing listening to what Carl Jung called our shadow. We could just call it the different parts of us, the different parts that make up who we are. You can also do this exercise for yourself. You don't need to wait for the big meditation to come along. And the simplest way to do it is to realize you're feeling something. And in that moment where you realize you're feeling something, try and give it a bit of a personality, even if the personality is just the emotion itself. Call it sadness. Imagine you could see that part of you and ask it to speak, like you're listening to a child, or you're listening to a dear friend. And then what makes it even more powerful is ask this sadness to speak and say, "You talk, and I'll just write down what you're saying. Whatever you say, I'll put the words on paper." And that really is the simplest way to make sure that what in us is being felt is also being heard, is also being held. And in that moment that I can hear and I can hold, I'm certainly being the best version of myself. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for this opportunity to listen to what sometimes speaks within me. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that I can listen to and hold my big emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning and experiencing that I really am stepping into the best version of me when I am able to do this listening and this holding. Take a deep breath in. And thank you for seeing clearly how the more I practice stepping into the power of my soul, the better I get at acting from that place too. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for bringing your inner children to this journey. As hard as this journey can sometimes be, and we often have really tough things to deal with, every person who starts taking seriously, doing their work with whatever they're dealing with, eventually realizes that all of this is so beautiful. Stefan, you just said it. Beautiful. This journey is always beautiful, no matter how painful or how much heartache there might have been. When we look back, we always realize the beauty of being a human being. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Grain. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Anthony and Sunmarie. And I'm trying to remember who else is back there. I can't remember. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Have a beautiful day. See you again soon. Ciao, ciao.